short story about Mike Tyson. Throughout the early entirety of his boxing career, Mike was one of the most feared men of the planet. His stellar knockout record and storied championship history led many to believe that he is the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. Tyson's record-setting career in the ring and out of it had not been without its fair share of controversies and difficulties. Mike Tyson was born in Brooklyn on June 30th, 1966. At the age of 2, his father abandoned his family, leaving them in an increasingly precarious financial situation. As a result of this, Mike and his family were forced to move to Brownsville, which is an area well known for its high crime rates. During his early days in Brownsville, Mike was not this chiseled athlete we know today. Rather, he was a much smaller and had a nervous disposition to boot. Mike knew that in this concrete jungle he had to adapt. Therefore, Mike developed a unique style of street fighting. And even though he only did this to avoid harassment, it landed him in more trouble than he bargained for. Mike became involved in gangs at a very early age. By the time he was only 13, he had been arrested 30 times. Eventually, his behavior saw him end up in a reformatory school. Based on the trajectory of his life at this point, Mike's meeting with the counselor, Bob Stewart, must have felt like a meeting of a patron saint. Bob saw the raw power and energy that Tyson had. He wanted him to channel it correctly. When he eventually agreed to train Mike, he did so only under the agreement that Mike would stay out of trouble and put more effort into his studies. Mike agreed and began to make strides. Although he was initially classified as having a learning disability, Mike brought his reading abilities up significantly in a short space of time. He became insatiable when it came to boxing. He wanted to practice and learn as much as possible, as much as he could. Eventually, when Bob really started to believe Tyson could become a world beater, he recommended him to Constantine D'Amato. He saw Mike's talent and endless potential. He set very difficult training schedules for the young man, who was as young as 14 at the time. As well as this, he was put up against boxers much older than himself. Sadly, Tyson's positive trajectory in life did not last all too long. Just when he was beginning to enjoy his regimented but strenuous existence under the training of D'Amato, his mother passed away. This threatened to draw him back into his gang days he would much rather have forgotten. Tyson was kicked out of school D'Amato had entered him into due to violent outbursts. It seemed like the death of his mother undid a lot of work Tyson had put into his attempt to become a regimented, ambitious individual. Although Mike eventually calmed himself and continued his studies, there were more setbacks to come. He began to train for the Olympic trials, but he hardly looked promising. He even lost, which seems so far attached from the image most of us have in our heads of the young, hungry, determined Mike Tyson. D'Amato and Tyson agreed that it was time to take a different route. At the age of 18, Mike Tyson turned pro. Mike Tyson's first professional fight ended in the first round. His quick fists and impressive defense for a man of his size was noted by many, earning him the nickname Iron Mike Tyson. Tyson recorded countless knockout victories that year and was eyeing a world heavyweight title fight. Although this sounded like a dream first year in the sport, it was not at all ideal for Mike. Sadly, D'Amato passed away that same year. An angry, confused teenager, Mike had already lost his mother and his surrogate father. Many expected the worst. D'Amato had given Mike a sense of purpose and gotten him to where he was. Was Mike about to give it all up again? Although Mike was never the same after the death of his surrogate father, he made sure he would not let this get in the way of his success. Tyson continued to fight and muster up a 22-0 record. In November of 1986, the year after his professional debut, Iron Mike won the World Heavyweight Championship after knocking out Trevor Berbick in the second round. He made many storied defenses of this title after this bout and generally goes down as one of, if not the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. Mike had it tough, but Mike also decided to adjust and to turn the negatives into positives. Mike is a winner in any stretch of the imagination. If you feel like you have a little bit of Mike inside of you, I believe in you. You can be a winner. You have it inside of you. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you think it can help somebody else, pass it along. Thank you.